You did have the pleasure of playing under Sir Alex Ferguson, 26 years manager of Man United. People forget he was 8 years at Aberdeen as well, for goodness sake. One of the greats, if not the greatest of all time. In your own words, Rio, what made him so special?
I think his relentless desire to keep on improving, keep an appetite to win, but a desire to always evolve. You got to remember that 26 years and 8 years at Aberdeen, that's different generations. That's almost 3 generations of players that he's had to adapt the way that he approaches teams. You speak to the likes of Gordon Strachan and those guys who he had first at Aberdeen. His approach to those guys to when, fast forward when he was talking to the likes of Danny Welbeck and Tom Cleverley, his approach was hugely different. That takes intelligence, that takes understanding, that takes an awareness of where you are in your life as and your age, and talking to different generations of people. So his ability to evolve and adapt, I think, must be one of his greatest strengths, because that then enables him to have that longevity, to keep on churning out teams, turning teams over, and his ability to kind of get his teammates, his team on side and individuals on side. Like I've always said this about him, he knew my granddad's favourite drink. I mean, he knew my granddad. He knew if my mum was in hospital, he knew flowers would turn up. Like, these are little details that
little things like
they make you go the extra mile. Yeah, and then it becomes a sentimental. There becomes an emotional attachment. Then.
Yeah. I mean that's true. I mean, back in the day, obviously, when you guys win the trophies that you've won, and you come off a massive season, and you feel like, okay, you've won the league and you've won maybe the FA Cup or something like that, and then you look, and the next thing happens pre-season, and you see 2 or 3 players leaving, and you see 2 or 3 new players coming in, and you're thinking, hold on a minute, we've just won the league and we've just won the FA Cup. Why the change? But that was the thing about him as well. He was never scared of making the big changes.
Yeah.
He was never scared of letting the big players go. If you feel like, you're going to be bigger than the club, he'll let you go. He has always said it. There's no one is bigger than the club. Is that something that kept you guys on your toe? Did you guys, after season, you think, oh, who's coming in now? We know there's going to be a change. Is that something that kept you guys on your toes, really?
Yeah, I think we always knew that there would be someone coming in. I remember the season when when Cristiano Ronaldo signed, and we went to Sporting Lisbon. It was actually lucky that we signed him, because it was only on the disappointment of not signing Ronaldinho that summer. We tried to sign Ronaldinho and he chose to leave Paris Saint-Germain and went to Barcelona. I remember the manager devastated. Wow. And then on the tour, on the back end of the tour, we went to Sporting Lisbon to open the stadium with a game. Cristiano Ronaldo plays, and then the rest is history.
Wow.
But we always knew there was big players coming. And that summer, Varane went to Chelsea.
Yeah,
so a big player, he came in before, but he then left. So I always knew immediately that there was going to be a revolving door for players. If you come in and don't produce, you're gone. And there's no you're going to keep a player for 4 or 5 years who just isn't doing it. If you don't produce in year 1 or 2, good night. The club was not really. The manager was very, very decisive. But I think he always thought about, yes, you win, but what's going to spark a new kind of desire within this team and this changing room. Somebody new, somebody who brings something different, who's going to challenge other players. Like when we bought probably one of the best strikers in form in Berbatov that year, comes in, top goal scorer. Done the same with Robin van Persie. The manager says he'll win you the league. He won us the league. So in these things, it played out. He didn't just do it; he done it, and it played out.
I watch a lot of interviews with you, Rio. You've done a lot of podcasts. You've done Stephen Bartlett, CEO of a Diary of a CEO, sorry. You've done the Fozcast with Ben Foster. And in every one of those, you talk a lot about the fact you weren't scared to stand up to Fergie. You and Fergie clashed quite a bit. Talk to us about that, the not being, coward by standing up to the boss, to the gaffer, to Sir Alex Ferguson, for goodness sake. Where was that born from?
The main part of it of standing up to the manager and asking questions or questioning him or going against him in certain situations, it wasn't often, but it did happen. But I think the only reason why I survived and I got through that is because I think he genuinely knew that I wasn't doing it from a selfish, egotistical point of view. It was very much from a team basis. And after probably most of those things, when we've had those confrontations, I may go to him after and go, listen, boss, okay, I do believe in what I said. I still stand by what I said, but maybe I should have approached it a different way, or I should have come to you when it was just me and you. But when the emotions are running so high in a team, and the moment, sometimes I couldn't control that, and I'd go back, or we'd have an argument, and it'd be in front of the team. And now I look back now and say, okay, I could have probably chose my times better, but I probably still would go with what I went with at the time because I believed in what I was saying.
Was there an occasion, Rio, that he came through you? Is there one kind of instance that stands out where Fergie's come right at you and you've maybe not had a leg to stand on?
Not had a leg to stand on. No. I was always right. No. I mean, even the racism, the t-shirt, the kick it out t-shirt.
I remember that one. Yeah.
I refused to wear the kick it out t-shirt because I didn't believe that they kind of backed my brother in the situation with John Terry. So I just didn't wear the t-shirt. I said, I'm not wearing it. My mistake was I didn't tell the manager. But the manager's mistake was he done a press conference saying that all of his team will wear it. But he knew the situation that revolved around my brother, but didn't ask me. And I think after when I said I'm not wearing it, he went crazy in the change room before the game. Luckily, we won the game. And he didn't need to kill me anymore after. But I went and see him the next day, and we kind of just talked it out. And he was like, "Yeah, maybe I should have come and spoken to you before." Because he's an honest guy. That's what I liked about him. He was honest, and if he wasn't just wrong and strong. If he thought that maybe he could have done something different as well, I think he was man enough to own up to that, which was always, as a player, you kind of respected even more.
I loved as well, you've admitted, and this is a good one for you, John, a real candid admission from you, Rio, and going through all interviews with different footballers, I don't really recall footballers admitting to this, but I think it was the Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich over in Bavaria, over at the Allianz Arena. You were winning 1-0, Fergie's making a couple of changes, and you're thinking to yourself, what the fuck's he doing here?
Yeah.
Outwardly, questioning. And it's a question I'd put to you, John. Times your manager's made a substitution where you're looking, thinking, oh no, what's he doing bringing him on? Has that ever happened?
Oh, this has happened, of course. Mourinho has done that as well. He's the chief when it comes to, making those tactical changes, that we look at it, we're like, oh, hold on a minute, what's going on here? But then the player comes in and then it takes you 5 to 10 minutes to see exactly what he's done. And if there's a space, if there was, if we are conceding whatever it is in this space, he's trying to close the space, or if we see there's a space there where we can attack and create chances. The little changes that Mourinho made was that, he was a specialist in that, making those changes. And also when we have to defend, when we have to sit deep and defend and soak in the pressure and then counterattack. He was the best at that, and I'm sure also Fergie did that as well most of the time when you guys played.
Of course, on that occasion though, Rio, you went on to lose 2-1, so you were right to say, "What the fuck are you doing, Gaffer?"
Yeah, I was right again, man. I was right again. But you know what? It's Mourinho. Yeah, I love Mourinho. You know, he's one of the managers. Like, there's a handful of managers that in the game you think, I'd love to have played for him. I used to hear them at Chelsea boys at England talking about him, and I used to think, fuck, man, I wish that one day I could play for this guy. Because he seemed like he was a bit like Fergie. He was quite a personal guy, would talk to you and stuff. And then he's another one who's having to evolve with the times because he's going through a different generation of player. He can't treat these boys now how he treated you guys back then. Very different approach. So he's going through that transition, and it's interesting to see how that turns out and pans out for him.
Yeah, but saying that as well, that's very difficult for him as well. And when he's trying to, because Mourinho is somebody, when he sees something, he has to say it. He has to confront you. He has to go at you. And because he feels for him, that's the only way he's known how to get the best out of players. But right now, like you've just said, he's thinking, oh, new generation, what shall I do here not to get in trouble? He's trying to hold himself and not to attack the way he did to us. Because we were a different breed, obviously. We were a different generation. We could handle that. But the young boys now, the young kids now, you look at them, you think, can they handle that?
Yeah.
But exactly, just what you've just said. And I mean, it just shows how the game has evolved, really.